Nigel, it's nice to see you again. We've had a lot of time to prepare for the World Cup break. Has the 4 weeks gone as you anticipated?
It doesn't seem that long to me, but yeah, I mean, it's been an opportunity to give people a bit of time, and players are looking good, so looking forward to the game now.
Nothing beats playing, though. How much are you looking forward to the next few games building up to Christmas?
First things first, just the game at the weekend. I mean, that's we've got 25 games or so left, whatever it is, and I think it's important for us to try and make the best that we can of those 25 games and get ourselves pushed up the table. It's a very tight league. I think there's always a bit of a lull after the Christmas period, but I can't see that happening this season because people have had a break. So yeah, looking forward to getting back playing the games.
What are your ambitions for Bristol City this season?
To get into the top half to start with, and then try and push on from there. So it'll be important to keep our key members of the playing staff fit and available. I think that's been a part of the reason that we've not done as well as we would like to so far. But hopefully, we'll be able to keep the squad pretty fit, and who knows, we may do some business in January. We may not. Difficult to say at the moment, but yeah, it's been a good couple of weeks training, and the players are, like I say, the players are very competitive and look in good shape.
And is a positive going into Saturday Cal Naismith? Will he be available for selection this weekend? Yeah,
should be. There's only really Tomas Callas at the moment, Kane, Wilson, Eamon being out as well. He re-ruptured his ACL, which is unfortunate, but these things happen. So he's had a bit of bad news, but he's had surgery again, so that really will be his season over. But the rest of them, Kane should be back in the new year at some point. Tomas Callas, we could have him fit before Christmas. So I suppose this break has given us a chance to get the squad as fit as possible, and yeah, they're looking good now.
And Tomas, is he frustrated? I mean, it's a positive that he'll be back before Christmas, touch wood, but he must be frustrated not playing much football, if at all, this season.
Yeah, he's been very frustrated because just when it looks as though he's on the cusp of coming back, something else has occurred. So it has been a bit of a frustrating time for him. But I think as long as we get him back and he stays fit, then that's another player of good calibre at this level for the squad. So look at the positive aspects of it, and he'll be back before long, and be playing for a contract like many other players.
City fans were very proud to see Antoine out at the World Cup representing Ghana. Is he straight in at the deep end, back at the club yesterday? So is he back in full training from the outset?
Oh yeah, he doesn't get a break. I would think I just seen him out there on the grass. He looks excited to be back and ready to play. What a great experience for the young man to go out there and be a part of a World Cup squad. So yeah, there's no time to rest for him now. It's straight back into the squad.
And your last performance, if we remember, was Watford, which was very positive and encouraging. How do you encourage the players to play that more often, more regularly, as we go back into Championship action?
Well, I mean, with games like that, the Sheffield United game, I mean, we played really well in that game too. We've had some poor performances. The Lincoln one was obviously a very disappointing night. and a very disappointing performance. Yeah, but the standards that we sort of hit against teams like Watford, we need to produce it every single week, and the players are aware of that. We've early on in the season, we were scoring lots of goals but conceding too many, and goals have not dried up, but they've been harder to come by, and we need to try and reproduce that sort of a form. But the most important thing for us is to have cohesion as a team. That's the biggest thing for us now, and as I've said, important factor in that will be keeping key players fit and available, and making sure that we fulfil our potential every time that we play.
In the past, Rotherham have always given City physical, direct challenges. I don't know if that's changed under their new manager, but what do you expect from a Rotherham side who I think picked up 4 points out of 6 going into the World Cup break?
Yeah, that'll be a tough game. At their place too. They'll certainly ask lots of questions of us physically. They play with a lot of commitment in the attacking third. So, they have runners in behind. They'll be a stern test for us. So, they've had a decent and solid return to the Championship so far. But I say it almost every week that really it's more about our own performance. If we are near our best, we're a tough proposition for any team.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Both had a bit of work and time off. Have you at least managed to have some time off yourself?
Yes, we all have the same amount of time off. So it's important to give them a week's rest, and then after that they've got programs to do themselves away from here, and then we've been training for 2 weeks. So it's you've got to take advantage of situations like that, whether you like them or not. I mean, the World Cup's been an interesting tournament so far, so it's what it is. You don't very often get a chance for a break as a manager unless you get sacked during the season. Well, I mean, look, it's really good for him on a personal level, and certainly his family are very proud moment, I'm sure. But yeah, it's positive for us as well. He's come through our academy, and it's one of our home-produced players, if you like. So I think there'll be a lot of people within the club who played a part in Antoine's development who will feel very proud, and rightly so. So it's a good story, but we have to keep it in context now. It's now about us as a team getting back onto the pitch and producing some decent performances that yield more points than we've gained of late. So that's the priority now.
Just on Barry's injury severity, for any player of any age, it's very tough to take.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how is he dealing with on a personal level?
Well, I mean, look, his teammates have rallied around him. Clearly, he's upset and disappointed because he'd worked exceptionally hard to get back, along with the medical staff. It's just an unfortunate occurrence. There was no contact. There was it looked pretty innocuous, really. But if it's, I suppose, the other way of looking at it, if it's going to re-rupture, but better happening now, and we can get it sorted. So that I'm not entirely sure exactly what's happened this time differently in terms of the surgery, but he'll be fine. He will recover. It's a serious injury, but importantly, there isn't damage to cartilage as well, which means it's for the longer term, a better outcome for him.
The 2-0 victory over Southampton last week, behind closed doors.
I don't know whether we say that. Did we? We didn't announce anything. It was just a training game. We had a chance for our players to all get 45 minutes. So we basically picked two sides and put them out there, and it was a good run out. I think there was a doubt during the week whether we'd be able to see each other on the pitch because of the fog up here last week was pretty bad. But on the Saturday it was fine, and we had a good workout against them.
Is Elijah Morrison training with the first team on a regular basis now?
Yeah.
And how is he fitting with the first team environment?
Yeah, I mean he's done well. He's done very well, and it's just picking the right moment for him to get more exposure. But the good thing is he's still playing games. In the 21s, it's training with us, and that is, I think, there's the benefit of keeping players in house. There are times that players go out alone, but we feel that there's, with certain players in particular, there's more benefit with them staying around our own squad. 2 reasons: we might need them, but actually, there's more continuity of what we do with players. So you watch the academy teams train now. There is a relationship between what they do in their training sessions and what we do. So it's a better pathway for the players.
I was listening to Matthew James on Monday, and he spoke about that change in Semenyo and how you deal with younger players back in Nigel managerial career. Just wondering how you feel like you adapt into that.
Well, I mean, I was a national coach for the FA for 2.5 years, so I've got plenty of background working with younger age groups too. So I've not heard what Matty said about how I've changed, but it doesn't really matter. We all change with time. I think it's just important that in a managerial position you have an open mind in terms of because circumstances can change very much from one job to the next, and so for instance, because of our own situation, both in terms of how we've had to adopt a different stance on recruitment, for us it's imperative that we produce players ourselves, and you can only do that if there is an understanding throughout the whole of the club what you're trying to produce. So there are clubs that don't have a strong relationship between academy and the first team operation, which I would imagine in those situations for the academy staff it must be difficult to know what you're trying to produce.
You said before that the break that you were going to use to utilise preparations for the transfer window. I was just wondering how you prepared over that period.
Well, we know what we're looking for, and that's the bottom line. We know what we're looking for, and it will depend on whether we're able to do that business or not. If we can't get the players that we want, or a player that we want, then it's not a window to waste resources in. And we've got to make sure that we have an obligation to do everything we can to comply with the financial fair play regulations too. So all these things together, it's not as straightforward as saying we need players or it would be nice to tweak the squad. I don't know yet whether there will be players who may leave. There may be, there may not be. So all those factors have an impact on the tempo that you can do business at. So I'm a big believer in doing January business as early as possible, so you get the benefit of an extra month if you do it on the first day.
The club in a position now that we've got the targets in mind and that you can be.
Look, we always have the targets in mind. It's not a case of we know the types of markets that we're looking in. So people need to forget the idea of us splashing out fortunes on players, but we know the market that we're looking at, and the club want to be very supportive of the first team operation. Of course they do, but we have obligations to meet in terms of, as I've already said, financial fair play. So we can't just throw caution to the wind, so to speak.
Yes, but Antoine's contract situation, it's got a year.
Yeah, we've got an option, which.
Extended, yeah.
Well, I mean, it will be. Of course it will, because he's one of our prized assets. So, those, you can take that as read that we will take that option on him. Of course we will.
I was just wondering what the kind of delay was behind it.
Well, there isn't one. But we'll all in good time, eh? Let's see what happens.
And the final for me, I'm for a new CEO. How is that progressing?
I don't know. That's not my. I mean, look, Richard and I, as Richard does around the place anyway, continue to work in exactly the same way. So those are questions to put to somebody in the hierarchy, certainly not to me. But again, what we're trying to do as a club is make sure that any transition from, it's been a couple of months now, I think, since or a month and a half since the announcement that Richard would be leaving at the end of the January window. So clearly there will be the process of trying to find his replacement will be underway. Of course it will be. But outside of that, what's vitally important for us at the moment is there is a continuity of how we work, because Richard is very professional and he will continue to do his job in the way that he always does it. So and that means having a lot of cooperation within the business. So I'm sure it's moving in the right direction. I don't know though, but I've got no concerns over that at all.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
Before World Cup break, we saw Noah dip in and out of the under-20
Yeah.
team. The under-21 continued during the World Cup. Was it always the plan to hand Noah to Hamilton during that period? And is it a sign that he's being integrated back into the first team?
He's never not been involved with the first team. It's just a case of, if we've got the right numbers, that he's not in the position that he was, maybe last year. His future remains uncertain, of course. But he's been absolutely no trouble at all. He trains really well. He's a great lad. So there's nothing sinister going on. It's just a case of who's available. Players who are here for the long haul probably will get a nod ahead of him. But I trust him in the sense that I know that if he's required, he'll do a good job for us. So he continues to train very, very well, and so it's just being professional about it. He'll never be, if you like, shunned by us, because he's a player that we respect and we still need. But of course, there is a possibility that something might happen in January with him. So we'll see.
Ryley Towler's been playing regularly at Wimbledon, and I do
Yeah.
think that there's a recall option. Is it better for him to stay? Because obviously something like has been an issue this season in regards to player availability. Do you sometimes consider perhaps recalling him? Was it better for his?
No, he's a player that will benefit greatly from having a full season with them. And this is where, if you look at how we look at the loan situation, it's not, we don't apply all the same factors to every player. You have to look at each player on their own merit, and I think Ryley needs to stay there and continue his good form. He's had a good season so far.
And you sort of got the important playing for your future, playing for your contract. But obviously, the episode Tomas had, he's out of contract, and you sometimes consider his injury past. Does that affect you in a way that because of the availability?
Well, you'll have to wait and see what happens in the future. I mean, look, those are factors that do come into consideration, of course. But again, every player's circumstances are a little bit different, and obviously the financial side's a huge part of it as well. So all those, there is work being done behind the scenes. We've had plenty of discussions as members of staff in terms of where we go with the squad. This summer, there are a lot of contracts that expire, so there will be a number of players who are essentially playing for new contracts, which I think is healthy. But there will also be conversations with players when the time's right about maybe a different scenario. So, you know, I'm not going to say anything in the public forum when I've not spoken to players. You know, I mean, that's the way that we do that. Richard will continue to talk with players' representatives, and you know, that's how we work.
And Alex Scott was speaking about his aims to play for the England senior team. Do you think, not to put pressure on his shoulders, but do you think that will happen during his career? There's a lot of time ahead of him, but
yes, one word answer, yes. Is good enough. Yeah, absolutely.
And Mark Sides, I think, made his debut as well. With plans to shows that he made good business to sign players internationally recognised.
Well, look, Mark Sykes has had a really good start to his career here, and I think he can be relatively satisfied with how he's progressed here. You know, it's hard for players to make that step up and remain at the top of their game right the way through. But I think Mark Sykes has had a very good start to his Bristol City career.
And just obviously City will be playing on Saturday, obviously England are, so I was just wondering your team and how you performed with the World Cup so far, and who says the chance of perhaps getting this chance maybe as well?
Yeah, we've got a good chance. Yeah, and I think England have performed very well. I don't buy into all this up and down mentality where we got through comfortably. The squad seems in good physical shape. To win tournaments, you need to make sure you peak at the right time. So there's been plenty of tournaments in the past where England haven't done that because we've been useless at tournament football. But I think Gareth's record is outstanding, and I think his calmness with how he reflects on performance is something which is very visible with the team too. So we've got as good a chance as anybody. Okay.